Welcome to Blue Collar Sports Talk. Let's talk sports. Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. Here's a quick rundown of what I'm going to talk about today. Going to look at some Husker men's basketball. Going to discuss a little women's basketball. Of course, I have to talk the NFL playoffs. We'll take a look at some NBA stuff. And now here's the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. The weather has been weird, and I just wanted to come in and chat with everybody since it's been a few weeks. Here it is. We're going to start off with men's basketball. Just a few quick notes. The men's basketball team have been just amazing to start this season. They've knocked off number one Purdue, but yet they still struggle at times, which is evident from that loss in the following game at Iowa. Now, Tuesday, tomorrow, the 23rd of January, depending on how you listen to this or whatever, the Huskers have a home game versus Ohio State. Now, the Buckeyes are 13-5 overall, 3-4 in the Big Ten, and the Huskers are 14-5, 4-4 in the Big Ten. If you get to go, great. It's Tuesday, 7 p.m. in Lincoln. If you want to watch it, Peacock. I don't know how I feel about that. Just one more streaming service getting in on this that you have to subscribe to. That's just my 2 cents worth. It's unfortunate. You have all these streaming services getting in on the action, which leaves the fans out. So if you do subscribe to Big Ten Plus like I do, after the fact, you can watch the game, I believe, after it airs or the next day. I don't know exactly when the time frame is, but I absolutely love Big Ten Plus app for that. Now, the Huskers have gone on an amazing 12-1 run at home games. The Huskers are averaging 78.3 points while outscoring opponents by 8.2 points a game. The Buckeyes have gone 3-4 against other Big Ten teams, and Ohio State is currently 8th in the Big Ten scoring, sitting with 76.4 points per game and are shooting 44.5%. Meanwhile, Nebraska makes 45% of its shots from the field, which is 3.6 percentage points higher than Ohio State has allowed its opponents this season at 41.4. Now, Ohio State averages 7.7 made three-pointers per game this season, just a little bit less than what makes the Huskers or what the Huskers make per game. But if you watched the last game, Tominaga hit a three-pointer, I believe it was a three-pointer, against Northwestern to seal that game, to finish it at the buzzer at home. So this was, the reason I mentioned that game, that was the Huskers' first win versus the Northwestern Wildcats since 2019. I do hope the Huskers get another win at home at the Vault, Pinnacle Bank Arena. Again, that's tomorrow, Tuesday, the 23rd. If you get to go, that's great. It's an amazing atmosphere at the Pinnacle Bank Arena. I'm going to switch gears over to the Husker women. And I wanted to talk about this game specifically, which is going to happen Saturday in Iowa. The Huskers meet the Caitlin Clark-led Iowa Hawkeyes. It will be a 1 p.m. tip-off on Big Ten Network. Now, if you follow sports at all, you know Caitlin Clark is amazing. And she put up huge numbers in her last game against Ohio State. They lost. If you're an Ohio State fan, you loved it. If you're a Hawkeye fan, you hated it. Caitlin put up big numbers in that game, but Ohio State did something great. They shut down everybody else. I hope the Huskers study that game film on what it takes to beat Iowa, because it can be done. The Buckeyes proved it in an overtime thriller that had the Buckeyes come out on top and left a frustrated Caitlin Clark trampled on the Ohio State floor after the fans rushed the court. And I will say, after watching the footage, Clark is a great actress and probably really good at getting charging calls in her favor. The Huskers are 13-6 on the year, and the Hawkeyes are 18-2 and currently ranked 5th. Again, that is this Saturday in Iowa. Big Ten Network, 1 p.m. Going to turn the page to the football. If you're a football fan, specifically an NFL fan, the first few rounds of the playoffs, I feel have been exciting. And depending on who you cheer for, also maybe just a bit frustrating. I noticed recently that the Lions have a bit of exciting news, and they picked up veteran tight end Zach Ertz. Huge for the Lions, as the Lions had only one healthy tight end after the Bucs game after Brock Wright was injured. The Lions might be. The Lions also probably will be without starting guard Jonah Jackson. He had surgery on a torn meniscus. The Lions matchup versus the 49ers on Sunday night comes after both teams battled their way into this conference championship game. And the Lions had an exciting win versus the Rams, where both QBs played against their former teams. To me, it felt like a really good grudge match. And then they handled Baker Mayfield and his talented receiver core. Now, the Niners have, in my opinion, have a better offense than the other two teams that they've seen in their last two games in this playoffs. And on the road in the Niners Stadium, the Lions have a bit of an uphill climb to reach their first ever Super Bowl appearance. The early line has the Niners favored by 6.5, over set at 50.5. Now, if the Lions have success at running the ball like they did versus the Bucs, the Niners will have their hands full. So that should be an amazing game to watch. The other game that is also on Sunday is, depending on who you're fans of, the Chiefs were lucky to get out of Buffalo with a win. And the world probably gets another glimpse at what Taylor Swift will wear to cheer on Travis Kelce. Not that anybody cares, probably, that's listening to this, but I just like throwing that out because it's kind of comical. The Chiefs and the Ravens have the early game on Sunday. It's 2 p.m., and the Lions and the Niners have the 5:30 game on Sunday. I point that out because the Ravens are favored by 3.5, and the overs are set at 44.5. After a bye, the Ravens looked a little slow in the first half versus the Texans, but they turned up the offense, and the defense shut out the Texans in the second half. That was a fun game. I didn't get to see all of it. I watched some of the highlights, but what I saw on the highlights, it was evenly matched in the first, and then the Ravens just stormed out in the second and just were unstoppable. The Chiefs, to get to this point, battled the Dolphins in a very bitterly cold game in Kansas City, and they look like the better team equipped for cold weather battle because they won by 19. In my mind, had that game been played in an indoor stadium or warmer locale, I think that game would have been decidedly different. Now, all the Chiefs fans are rolling their eyes and going, yeah, whatever, you don't know. You're right, I don't, but I like to speculate. The Bills. The Bills were favored at home on a cold night in Buffalo, but KC did just enough to win by 3. But now you come into Baltimore on a Sunday afternoon. What will happen? Will the Chiefs fans get to see another Chiefs trip to the Super Bowl? If they do, all the conspiracy theory peoples will say it's to sell more Taylor Swift, Swifties, more NFL gear, and gain more fans and sell more products. But to get past these Ravens, they must beat a team that is just the fourth team since the 1970 merger to have a first-team All-Pro quarterback in Lamar Jackson and the number one scoring defense in the NFL. The other three previous teams to do so, the 1972 Dolphins, the 1978 Steelers, and the 1996 Packers. All of those teams went on to win the Super Bowl. But I doubt the Chiefs and their fans are scared, as the Chiefs have arguably the best defense in the Mahomes era. They finished the season second in scoring, right behind the Ravens in yards allowed, and no Kansas City team has been higher than 7th in either metric in the Mahomes tenure. So again, we're seeing the first and second team in defense, right? The number one scoring defense in the NFL, the Ravens. The number two scoring defense in the NFL, the Chiefs. So, other NFL odds and ends that I wanted to talk about, the offseason acquisitions for coaches has started. That's right. The Bears are working on a deal to add a former Seahawk coach in Shane Waldron as their new offensive coordinator. Will it help? I mean, if you're a Bears fan, you hope so. I mean, do the Bears then draft somebody? I mean, I don't know. What could the Bears be any worse? I don't know, but maybe this will help. Waldron's been around for a while. He's been through different teams, different setups, different scenarios. But what I'm trying to say is he's always succeeded in helping out whatever staff he's on and whatever players he's been coaching to be better and get the best out of them. So I hope for the Bears and the fans that he does some great stuff. Another bit of news or possibly rumor out there is that Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh is scheduled to meet again this week with the Chargers for a second interview. I had to bring this up because I think Harbaugh is trying to do everything he can to flee the NCAA before his team is put into some sort of penalty, punishment for all the things that have happened while he's there. So who knows where he goes, if he stays, but I doubt he stays. I mean, all the stuff that's happened in Michigan that he's been part of, I just don't feel that he wants to stay and face the music. Go to the NFL. Now, another guy who's been fired by the NFL, Ron Rivera, let go by the Commanders. He is interviewing for the Eagles' defensive coordinator job. Interesting. Will he be hired? Who knows? The Eagles, if you're a fan, you know that they let go their defensive coordinator after a sloppy finish to their season. I can't blame the coaches. They had so many people hurt. I don't know if that's the right thing, but hey, I'm not in charge. Go Eagles. Let's see what happens. And then Bill Belichick. Where does he end up? There has been numerous reports and rumors out there of where he's interviewed, what's going to happen. It should be interesting no matter what happens there. All right. I am going to turn the page over to some NBA stuff because we're in the middle of the season almost, and also right before the trade deadline. But all the trades are in full swing. If you've looked at some of these, a few trades that I want to take a look at, and I want everybody to watch these for the remainder of the season. And that starts with the Pacers adding Pascal Siakam from the Raptors. This, in my mind, should pay off huge for the Pacers and make another very, very scary team to play in the East. Along these lines, another former Raptor, OG Anunoby, went to the Knicks, which should also be huge for the Knicks. But what shocked me about this trade was the Knicks gave up R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. So who was the real winner of that R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, OG Anunoby trade? Time will tell. Watch the Raptors. Watch the Knicks. Now, you can't talk trades without mentioning what the Clippers have assembled in adding James Harden to an already stacked all-star team. Don't you think a majority of those are also future Hall of Famers? One quick note is a trade that happened before the season, and this involves DeJounte Murray to the Hawks. Everyone knows Murray is a great scorer. He's currently averaging about 21 points a game. He is helping to contribute also to the Hawks' poor defense. Right now, the Hawks sit 26th. The Hawks sit 26 in points allowed per possession. The only three teams behind them are the Wizards, the Hornets, and the Pistons. No one wants to be mentioned with those three teams that are in the middle of full-scale rebuilds about how many points they allow, especially a Hawks team that has been to the playoffs in the last 3 straight seasons. Oh, yeah. Will the Hawks figure it out? Also, just in passing, we all know that the trades that the Bucks made to acquire Lillard worked out amazing, as they are now second in the East. And a team that was helped by the Milwaukee Bucks acquiring Lillard in that trade was the Celtics. To make room, the Bucks had to send Drew Holiday away. Well, okay, the Celtics said, "Yeah, welcome home." But the Celtics had to then send away Robert Williams III, who is currently hurt after, I think this is the third or fourth season in a row that he was hurt, currently recovering from surgery. We wish you the best, Robert Williams III. The Celtics also had to send along out the door Malcolm Brogdon and Grant Williams. But those trades are paying off, as Kristaps Porzingis is looking like an amazing get as well, as the Celtics are sitting on top of the East. Now, none of these trades mean anything. None of the sitting on top of the East means anything if these teams don't bring home a title. This was a quick little rundown for me today on Blue Collar Sports Talk. I hope you enjoyed it. If you listen on YouTube, please hit that subscribe and like button. And if you listen on that Spotify thing, I don't know if it's follow or subscribe, but I appreciate you taking a listen. Go watch some sports.